Friday, the 24th of October, a beautiful and cool morning, and we're here for the home stretch with your perfect morning starter right here on Channels Television. Welcome. I am Bukola Koka. Hi, Jeffrey.
Hi, Bukola. By the way, Friday is Bukola's favorite day because it's about to be weekend when she was rest from all of the challenges of Nigeria for a bit.
I'm back again here tomorrow.
No, I'm just saying.
And are you back here tomorrow?
But the pressure of the everyday researching, analyzing, and all of that, you take a break for like 2 days, and then you come back one day and continue looking at Nigeria's challenges and the solutions to our challenges. We're grateful for the opportunity to even be part of the conversation. Sometimes we lose sight of that.
Yes, indeed.
You know, there's a lot of work. You know, people have a job like, oh, this job is this job is that. Today is Friday, so let's take it easy for a moment. And because your body, you know, like for me, I had control of my time. I could sleep and wake up anytime. I slept very late even while I was on leave, you know, but I woke up whenever I want to wake up and all of them. So your body's still adjusting and all of that. But we must also be grateful that we belong to those set of Nigerians who at least have a job, to our heads slightly above the waters and all of that. Because there are people who are talented as we are, even more talented, way more brilliant, but they do not have the opportunity. So maybe it's my day of gratitude for the opportunity we have to be part of Nigeria's conversation and solution, to have a seat on the table. That's just a little motivation for everyone out there who is trying to lose hope, even in the face of all the challenges we are facing, and you feel like, oh, things are not going to work. Just chill, keep at it, anything you're doing that your hands has found to do. And we're hopeful that someday you too, you know, will have a seat on the table. What we'll do is to hold the fort for you to make sure that we hold government accountable and praise them where they need to be praised, critically criticize them objectively where they need criticism, whether at the federal, state, or local government levels. Bukola? Indeed,
Jeffrey, you made me reflect on the need for gratitude as well. We cannot, you know, but be thankful for being privileged to be, you know, part of the process that, you know, shapes ideas, questions those ideas, and indeed helps you to make sense of it all. It's indeed a privilege, and we do not also lose sight of the weight of that responsibility. You know, to be as objective as possible, bring not just both sides of every story, but every side to every story. So indeed, we're back here again to do all of that. Speaking of the stories, President Bola Tinubu has sworn in Professor Joash Ojo Amopitan as the new chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission. Professor Amopitan takes over from Professor Yakub Mahmood, and addressing journalists yesterday after the swearing-in, Professor Amopitan restated his commitment to upholding Nigeria's constitution as far as the electoral law is concerned. And indeed, he also pledged his commitment in line with President Tinubu's mandate to conducting credible elections for Nigeria. Let's have Professor Amopitan. Okay. We'll get to Professor Amopitan shortly, but let's also listen to President Bola Tinubu at the swearing-in ceremony yesterday, which took place at the presidential villa.
To ensure that our democracy continues to flourish, the integrity of our electoral system must be beyond reproach. It is important that our elections are free, fair, and credible. We must consistently improve our electoral process, addressing the challenges of yesterday and innovating for today and tomorrow. To maintain public trust in elections, electoral integrity must be protected. All aspects of the process, from registration to campaigning, immediate access, voting and counting, should be transparent, non-violent, and be credible. I therefore charge you, Professor Amopitan, as to take on this important assignment to protect the integrity of our elections and electoral process and strengthen the institutional capacity of INEC. I wish you success as you lead INEC on your first assignment in November 2025, which is the governorship election in Anambra State.
President Bola Tinubu there, delivering his charge to the new INEC chairman, of whom so much has been said about his impressive academic record and indeed his professional record. He has a BSc in law from the University of Jos, MSc in law from the University of Jos, a PhD in law from the University of Jos as well. And he's also been said that he has massive experience in law of evidence and corporate governance. And so the new INEC boss resumes with the first test of his experience and his impressive credentials being the conduct of the Anambra election. Of course, yesterday he refrained from commenting on the Anambra election, pleading to be briefed by the national commissioner in charge. Jeffrey.
I think it's a good thing he refrained from talking. I would advise him to talk less and do more. And I think it's not to have excessive or too much expectation of him. He just was sworn in yesterday. The elections are less than a month away from now. He has to do his job anyway. But that charge on him is primarily on the rec of INEC in the state, who is going to be in charge of that election, who will have a returning officer and all of that. So I know that hopes are quite high when it comes to whoever is the INEC chairman. This is one job that is very delicate. You can have all the credentials and all the legacy and all those things you bring to the table, and you will destroy it in just one fell swoop. So we pray for him. We hope that he will have courage, which is the most important thing our head of institutions lack in Nigeria. Courage. Because of political influences. Sometimes when we talk of political influences, there are layers to it. There is the issue of trying to be bribed. There is the issue of trying to be coerced. There is even the issue of intimidation. We've seen INEC officials killed because they refuse to do the bidding of whoever wants them to do what. So our prayers and our hopes are on him to do the right thing, because I will always say that 1993 was quite an excellent year when it comes to our elections. In 2023 was another opportunity that INEC had to build on 1993, which was exactly 30 years away. But for that glitch, for that mistake, for that whatever it is you want to call glitch that INEC did, that messed up everything they built on. And I believe till tomorrow, and it's difficult to change my mind on it, that if we were seeing election result in real time, the doubt over whether or not Bola Tinubu, the president, really won the election or rigged the election won't be much of a conversation. But for that law, that almost 24 hours delay, whether indeed he won that election free and fair or it was rigged, is going to be a debate for the rest of our lives as a people. So those are the small things. So first, courage. First, I want to say, Prof, you must be courageous. You must be bold. Second, please do not make promises you cannot keep. If you're not sure what to say, just stay quiet. Festus Okoye, Professor Mahmoud, we're all preaching the issue of real-time result. And that is the only way Nigerians will have confidence in the system. They see the real time and all of that. Whatever happened, happened. And that kind of, tainted that confidence, especially among the young people who are the successor generation. So, Prof, if they tell you, your tech people say there's going to be real-time results, please ask them 400 times to repeat it and let them demonstrate it. If not, don't make promises that you cannot keep so that nobody's going to hold you against, because that's what is held against Mahmoud till tomorrow. Whatever great job Mahmoud did was literally almost destroyed by that one moment of, failed promises as far as INEC is concerned. But, well, it's our country. We will keep hoping and believing that things will work out. So courage, talking less and doing more, and let's not have too much expectation of him in Anambra is just here. He will do the best he can. All right, that's why I look at these things.
Indeed, so much has been said about the Prof's, integrity and impeccable record, but that will have to contend with the, erosion of public trust that the commission currently suffers from, and he has a huge responsibility to change that narrative about the institution. And if you listened in on the conversation from our sister political program yesterday, he also has to contend with the overbearing influence of politicians on key staff of the Independent National Electoral Commission. But he has our best wishes as he commences his job at the commission. From yesterday as well, also in the Federal Capital Territory, we can also tell you, of course, you may have heard that the police have arrested the presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, Omoyele Sowore. He was arrested in court yesterday when he appeared during the continuing trial of the leader of IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. And, that's one of the things that we're going to be looking at today. What are the charges? Of course, according to reports, they have to do with his participation, his leading rather, of the protest to free Nnamdi Kanu, which took place earlier on in the week. The police say he breached the court order which restricted them from certain areas in the Federal Capital Territory. But of course, Mr. Sowore stood his ground, insisting on his fundamental right to protest. According to reports yesterday, he also insisted on being accompanied to the police headquarters with his lawyer. And of course, one of his associates has been speaking and condemning this arrest. He'll be joining us on the program to talk more about this.
Yeah, we don't want to dwell much on this particular matter because it's going to be part of our conversation on the program today. But I just feel that the federal government, okay, let me reframe that. I just feel that the police and Sowore need to get a room. Let them have a conversation because this arrest is becoming laughable. Like we say in local parlance, every Eke market day is Sowore versus police, Sowore. Funny, you remember when he was here on the program at some point, when he was leading a protest in support of the welfare of the Nigerian police force, and that kind of produced some results because we saw a few movements here and there that kind of moved the part of the needle. To see that man again, then not too long after that, I think it was during that protest they stole his glasses or something like that.
Indeed.
And then you can go back and forth. So I know Sowore will be arrested again. I don't think trying to stop Sowore from protesting, I think it's a bad idea. It's just to make sure that
the camel trying to pass through the eye of the needle.
It's his fundamental right to protest. Do you understand? But just do it within the confines of the law and all of that. And this idea, I know that the government knows a few things some of us may not know. And given what is playing out in the world and in Sahel and all of that, and then the recent issue around whether there was a coup, no coup, people being investigated, there's anxiety in the land and all of that. But we must also, in between that fine line, allow people to exercise their fundamental human right. If people want to protest every day, it is within their right to protest every day, as long as they have what to protest for, and they are not violent, they are not destroying property and all of that. So, because my worry sometimes, in the midst for government to protect national security, every time people want to converge, I think Adamoleko, what's her name? Yemi
Adamoleko.
She went to lay, yes, I understand.
Nigeria, yeah.
I was just wondering, every time someone wants to do something, there's always an intelligence. What is that? What kind of country are we building? Every time people want to protest, there's always an intelligence. No, if you have that intelligence, hello, sir, protect the people that are peacefully protesting. And then the ones that want to cause trouble for the Nigerian state, you know what to do with them and deal with them. I want to protest tomorrow. The producer say, I have intelligence that your protest, what kind of, it doesn't make sense. Look, allow people to vent, allow people to express themselves. Because if you keep doing this, I'm not just talking about the Sowore issue now. Generally, if we continue this issue of always having intelligence whenever people want to converge, let's not have another NSAS. Anything that will bring another NSAS, I don't want to say what will happen. So let's allow people, protect them, make sure they are civil. Unless they are ruling, you take them out. Allow people to vent. That's just all that is. But as far as Sowore, Bukola, and the Nigerian police is concerned, this relationship, as far as this IGP is concerned, they will continue to fight. That's why I say they should just get a room.
Get a room. That's what got me.
Sowore and IGP, get a room. Sit down, talk to yourself. Okay, moving forward, Because if you want to stop Sowore from protesting, that's not going to happen. Police arresting him, maybe that's not going to happen. So both of them should just get a room and settle their scores.
Beyond the humor, really, one of the things that the institutions may not realize is that, what continues to irk civil society and indeed activists in the ilk of Mr. Omoyele Sowore is the approach of clampdown to dissent and, to not allowing freedom of expression, either it's online or offline. The resistance to such approaches will continue inevitably because it's important that the people vent when, rights are infringed upon and they're allowed to ventilate. At least, the release of pent-up anger has been taken care of, and then there's some form of comfort from that, even though the issues have not been resolved. But we would like to also see this zeal that the security agencies demonstrate in critical times of emergencies, of security breaches, when the men of the underworld, the bandits, the kidnappers attack communities unprovoked. We do not see this zeal. We do not see this quick response as we see, when the police come out to quell dissent with tear gas and shooting. And those questions we'll continue to ask. The zeal that we see of security agents during elections, we want to see it also when it matters the most. And, and it's just important to put this out there. But we'll take a moment now. When we return, it will be time to unpack what the papers are saying about the big stories of the day. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Let's get to the dailies. We have analyst, Mr. Daya Akintobi, the public affairs analyst, joining us right here. Mr. Akintobi, good to see you. I've not seen you for about a month, and good to see you again.
Very good to see you back.
Yeah, so how have you been?
Very well, and you look like you've had a very nice time away.
I tried.
You're glowing.
I tried. Let's get to the papers, and this Nigeria is where we'll start off from, and that's the big one on the very front page, leading. Every vote will count under my watch. Amupiton vows. Anambra polls your litmus test. Tinubu charges new INEC chair on electoral integrity. I'm worried about making promises, but it's important to at least give yourself a responsibility in this sense. I think INEC job is a very sensitive job. Can make or mar you. Whatever it is you built before you came on that seat can be destroyed in one wrong move that the public will not forgive you for. But it's beginning to get in the fray. He said he's going to make sure every vote counts, which is, I don't think there's anything more than that is expected of him. What do you make of his statement and the president's charge?
Well, on a lighter note, I kind of like his name, Joash. And I looked it up, and it's actually a biblical name from the Old Testament. So it's interesting that such a name that's not really popular or widespread would be the one at the helm of our electoral processes. But he said all the right things, and he has an impeccable pedigree, and listening to him yesterday, he inspired quite a bit of confidence that he's the right man for the job. I don't have any doubt that his motives are sincere. My biggest concern is the people underneath him, the actual structure of INEC, the operatives of INEC from the Rex on down. He's just one man. He's a political appointee. He will do his 5 years, and if he's renewed, he'll do another 5 years, and then he goes. But how about the systemic operational inconsistencies and inefficiencies in the rank and file of the commission? That is where my worry is. Now, they say Anambra election will be a litmus test for him. I'm glad you said at the beginning of the program that with less than about 2 weeks away to the Anambra election, all the processes are in place already. He will have little or no influence on the outcome. All he can do is motivate the troops, probably even threaten them, say that, look, there's a new sheriff in town, any lapses or any dereliction of duty or any corruption will be dealt with severely. So he can give sort of motivational encouragement to the troops. But the outcome of the Anambra election, whether it goes well or it is less than acceptable, I don't think we should use that to judge him immediately, because all those processes, from ballot papers, logistics, ad hoc staff, all that is already done even before he's coming in. So I don't think it would be fair to put it on him that the outcome now is a litmus test for how he will do in 2027. But nonetheless, the buck stops at his desk because he's in charge, and on the day Anambra election will be held, he is the chairman of INEC. The president gave him a charge. I keep hearing this phrase over and over again: free, fair, and credible elections. In fact, that phrase has become so cliche because it's been used over and over again in our lexicon that I start to ask myself that the very people who are bandying that phrase about, what role do they play in helping us achieve free, fair, and credible elections? Because it's the very politicians who encourage unfree and unfair and not credible elections, because they engage in vote buying, they engage in bribing the INEC officials.
Intimidation.
They engage in intimidation, they hire thugs. So the role that they play is easy to give a charge to the INEC chairman and say, deliver free and fair and credible elections. But what role do our politicians, even us as citizens, with the kind of apathy we have at the polls, where voter registration is increasing? I think we have about 93 million registered voters, but voter participation is decreasing. While registration is increasing, participation is decreasing, which means people are apathetic towards the outcome of elections. So even us as citizens, we have a role to play as well in guaranteeing free, fair, and credible elections, not just by participation, but not selling our votes for a mess of porridge, a recharge card, or a bag of rice. So I don't think that it's really totally up to the chairman of INEC to be able to deliver free, fair, and credible elections. A lot of other disparate elements need to come together and align in synchronicity for free, fair, and elections to happen. But it's not impossible. We had it in '93, or we had almost as free, fair, and credible as an election can ever be. No election anywhere in the world can be 100% perfect. As long as it's designed by humans, implemented by humans, run by humans, there will always be some measure of fallibility. But we want it to be as close to free, fair, and credible as it can be, and that requires all of us to be pulling together for it to happen, not just the INEC chairman.
So at the end of the day, you know, I just believe that saying the right thing's not enough, but it's a good way to get started, to at least put an agenda on the table as personal. For me, what he said is like, it's a personal charge to him, saying, look, this is what I will do. I'm going to make sure I do this to the best of my ability as much as I can. And to also expect that INEC, will, rally themselves to say, look, all institutions, not just INEC, all institutions of state in Nigeria literally is having this crisis of confidence. And if we can begin to solve them one after the other, maybe starting with INEC and all of that, which is very sensitive. You know the way elections are, the winner will always say it was free and fair. The loser will say this was the most terrible elections, and then we'll head to court and all of that and back and forth. So we hope, personally, I pray for the man to succeed. Let votes count. That is what is most important in all of this. And then, you remember Sowore?
Yes.
The Comrade Senator said something I liked the other day. He said, he was talking to fellow senators who are politicians, of course, saying, look, let's stop arming thugs.
Yes.
Let's stop destroying the system. Yes. And I hope that they will listen to themselves. I was having a chat with a politician one day. He said, money in Nigeria is like energy and matter. It doesn't get missing, it just changes form.
The other interesting thing about INEC, I think as a barometer of the chairman's performance, is what percentage of the outcomes are challenged in courts. I think as long as a chairman can perform to a level where the losers can accept
the outcome,
then I think that chairman can beat his chest and say, I've done well.
I like that metric. Putting that on the INEC chairman, well, maybe it's a lot, but it's a good way to start.
It absolutely
that has to do with attitude of the Nigerian politician.
Yes.
I have seen, because we monitor these things. Journalists know, the politicians know, the politician knows a couple of other people know that this man, you lost this election.
Yes.
But the man will follow all the way to the Supreme Court.
Absolutely.
Maybe there will be a technicality that will knock off the case. Anyway, let's stay with this Nigeria for a moment. Something I'd like you to speak to before we move to other pay dailies. EFCC, just beneath the big story, EFCC recovers 566 billion naira, and in dollar terms, it recovered another $411 million. 1,502 assets in 2 years get recovered as well. That's according to the chairman of the EFCC, Lukoyede. I think this is commendable by every stretch of imagination, and I would like you to speak to it. My only charge to the chairman is I have a litmus test for him. What will be the outcome of his case with him and former Kogi governor, the White Lion,
Yaya Bello?
Yaya Bello. Whatever comes out of that case, because he promised and said that he would rather resign rather than not see that case to its logical conclusion.
Yes.
So we want to see either Yaya Bello jailed and stay in jail or freed because he was falsely accused. So that's our, because we have a lot of these monies missing all the time, then we don't see the big fish or big fishes in this sense head into prison. Absolutely,
and that's the misnomer with this press release that the EFCC has given us is the numbers are fantastic. I mean, so many hundreds of billions of dollars, so much real property recovered, but who did you recover them from, and what has happened to those people? We need public disclosure. It's not enough to come and stand before a microphone and say, I've recovered 560 billion in the last 2 years. Obviously, for you to have recovered it, they are the proceeds of an economic crime. That's what the EFCC stands for, economic and financial crimes. So if you've recovered it, you took it back from somebody who took it illegally or unlawfully.
From the states?
From the state, absolutely. From the state, from the federation purse, from wherever. But clearly, public money. In some cases, private money as well, but money that was not yours to take. So I think it is incumbent upon them to not just tell us what they've recovered, but tell us who took it, what they've done to the person, and what the outcome of the prosecution could be. I mean, yeah, we've seen former Central Bank of Nigeria chairman Godwin Emefiele. We've seen him in court a couple of times. We know they've recovered, they've forfeited some of his property and things like that. But all of that money was not just attributed to him. There are many other people involved as well. And when it is less than transparent and you're not giving enough disclosure, Nigerians begin to mistrust the process and believe that, okay, perhaps the money is diverted. What happens to the money you recovered? They said 560 billion. That's a lot of money. If you take it and you put it back into the treasury and it's begun to be used for medical health, it'll make a big difference in the amount of money the government has to spend. We're still going out and borrowing money, and yet we're recovering these humongous sums that could go to benefit the welfare of Nigerians in general. So we need to know a bit more. Not just that you've recovered this much, but who did you recover it from? What did you do to the person? And what have you done with the money? The 560 billion, where is it? What purposes did it serve? Who has it benefited? Or has it just been stolen again?
Stolen, restolen.
Stolen, restolen.
It changes form. It changes form.
Absolutely. So yeah, let's have more disclosure on that.
All right, let's get to Friday leadership. Literally all the papers are leading with the charge by the president and some of the reaction from the INEC chair. So we'll look at other headline. But this one is quite interesting, saying that reactions as Tinubu urges Mobiton to safeguard electoral integrity. Some groups are telling the president, match words with action.
Yes.
What do you make of it?
Talk is cheap. Anybody can say anything. And it's very easy to charge the INEC chairman to make elections a certain way and to keep them full of integrity. But what we need to see is action. You mentioned it earlier. I prefer less talk. As you said, don't make promises you can't keep. Don't come out and say things and say things and say things, and we're not seeing any movement or we're not seeing any change. So less talk, more action. Talk is cheap, but there are some governors in Nigeria today You don't hear from them. You don't see their convoys. You don't hear sirens. They don't have media chats once a month where they call all of the
like
mainstream.
Wike will do today.
Did I say? I didn't name names. So.
No. What is that not today? He does it every month.
Of course, you know who I was alluding to anyway. Yeah, but there are some governors who are just quiet performers. There are some ministers as well, quiet performers. You don't hear, you just see. And that is what we need more of. Talk less, do more.
Absolutely. Okay, and there are some ministers who don't even know whether they exist. You know, there are actually 48 ministers. I don't know how many Nigerians can name half of that.
No.
Even I, as a journalist who looks at what they do, I don't think I can name all the ministers.
I'd be hard-pressed to name 20. Hard-pressed.
Because whether that is a sign of inefficiency, I can't say. But just be visible. Let's at least find out.
Of course.
Like, for instance, I always take on the Minister of Blue Economy.
Blue Economy, yes.
That's the hair. Yes. Because I like when the president came up with that ministry, I think it was a brilliant idea.
Brilliant move, yes.
I just felt like, okay, this is an untapped area. Yes. Now let's get it done. But the minister, whether he's doing anything, we do not know. Okay, let me not say till tomorrow, because he may just show up tomorrow. Since he became minister till today, that's Oyetola, the former governor of Osun. We don't know jack of what that man has done.
We haven't seen anything. We haven't seen much.
I don't know what is going on in that ministry. But let's go to the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian newspaper, of course, the issue around Amopita and the president charged to him. But let's go beneath it. Just, you see the governor of Oyo State.
Yes.
On defections, that's what Seyi Makinde says. Makinde, APC senator, decry lack of political ideology in Nigeria. So for context, I think at this point we need to agree and maybe disagree to agree that we do not have political parties. We have political platforms. So this expectation of ideologies, don't you think is too much of an expectation?
Well, the stage at which our democracy is at this point. It hasn't evolved to the point where we unify around a cause. The only cause that holds us together today is stomach infrastructure. If you see people coming together for any reason, it's primarily for their welfare. And if they do it politically, it's because they're looking for a vehicle to catapult them into office for their welfare. So welfare is always at the end purpose, the end game is to get to the feeding trough and extract my own share of the federal cake or of the national cake. Now, when you're talking about ideology, in Nigeria, there are some of us who are conservative, there are some of us who are liberal, there are some of us who are even socialists. Even I would venture to say there are some who verge as far as communism to the far right. Then we have capitalists. So we have different ideologies, but those ideologies are still within social and economic spaces and have not migrated into the political realm yet, because as of now, politically, all we're still all trying to achieve is get our own people in power so that the dividends of democracy can come to us. But that's why what makes the defection so easy is because if I were a conservative, and as a conservative, I'm a Bible-thumping or Quran-carrying ideologue, and I abhor certain unreligious practices. Say, for example, maybe I'm against abortion, I'm against legalization of marijuana, I'm against LGBTQ. You see all of those people in the conservative camp, and those who support those practices, you see them in the liberalist camp. But in Nigeria today, we're still more about religion, ethnicity, and economics.
So,
and
let me ask you a question.
Yes.
So should we now, is it because if that is our reality,
yes,
can we now navigate? Because now we're modeling America. America is very clear on their path.
Yes.
It's either you're liberal,
yes,
or you're conservative.
Yes.
Right of center, left of center.
Yes.
And we know clearly what both stands for politically, yes, socially, economically.
Yes.
We're not confused. No. Any president that comes, yes, toes that line is, yes, as clear. Not like the ones we have now. For instance, Bola Tinubu is right of center in his economic policy. Former President Muhammadu Buhari is left of center in his economic policy, but they're in the same party. So there's a discordant, there's no nexus between both of them in terms of that direction.
Yes.
So if religion region and all of this are reality.
Yes.
Because they say culture will eat strategy for breakfast.
Yes.
Is there a way we can walk around it to be our own form of ideology?
Yeah, well, yes.
Is it possible? Because it's almost a helpless situation.
Well, I've never thought that it was right to import wholesale the system from somewhere else. I think we need our own unique brand of democracy. I think that our nature and the complexity of our togetherness does not lend itself well to Western-style democracy. So we should have adopted some things from their system and incorporated some of our own homegrown understandings. I mean, we had ways, before colonialism came, we had ways where our local chiefs and our traditional leaders used to resolve disputes,
share empires,
absolutely,
kingdoms.
And everybody was at peace. I mean, yeah, we had occasional wars, but things worked very well for us then. So I think part of our problem is this importation of a turnkey system that is alien to our culture and our economics and our way of life. So yeah, we do have an ideology. We do have a political ideology, and our political ideology verges more towards self-interest and how do I look after myself and my immediate set of people. And I heard Sheyi Makinde talking yesterday, and of course, he being one of the few who has remained in the PDP, you can see everybody jumping off it like it's a sinking ship. He has vowed to stay there, and he continues to be a stalwart in that party. And he's saying the defections are simply because we don't have a unifying theme. So you ask yourself, all the people who are in the PDP, what brought them together to begin with? Can you point to any single characteristic?
At the end of the day, it's totally out of time. I think what we have seen in practical terms is that the Nigerian politician, average, not all of them, is subservient to power. If anything, and this is, I'm not mincing words, if anything happens to this APC and they lose an election, the same thing will happen.
They will jump to
Everybody will jump to that new party. So it's about where their relevance stays and all of that. So sometimes it looks like, as a brand expert to say, we're forging to an homogeneous template without respect for our disparate clusters. But we hope we can find a space and forge it someday. Dayo Kintobi, as always, thank you for your very intelligent, insightful
My pleasure
comments as always.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to that conversation around Sowore arrested again by the Nigerian police. In just a moment, stay with us.
Today, Sowore has been arrested by the Nigeria Police Force. And you would ask, why was he arrested? It is very simple. The 13 people that were arrested previously all gave their statements, and there is a constant in all of their statements. Every one of them mentioned that one Omoyele Sowore led them into the restricted area in contravention of the court order. So it will be most unfair to charge some people to court and leave the person that led them to commit that more like their leader, the lead protester who told them and took them into the restricted area. And that's why in the spirit of fair play and to ensure that justice is served, Omoyele Sowore was arrested today, and like the others too, he wouldn't spend time with us. He wouldn't spend up to 24 hours with us. Once we wrap up the charges, he's going to be prosecuted. In fact, if everything goes right, our plan is to ensure that he is prosecuted today. He goes to court today. Yes. Mazi. You will be out. Mazi. Yes.
Are you recording us?
I'm not recording you.
I'm recording me. Put that phone down.
This is my younger brother now. What are you upset about?
Put that phone down.
So you said the commissioner of police said you should arrest me?
Yes, we are not.
Over what?
Bring you to the office.
By force?
Is it by force?
Yes, Force PRO, you heard him moments ago explaining the reason for the arrest of the human rights activist and, of course, a presidential candidate of the AAC in the 2023 election, Mr. Omoyele Sowore. So we have a clear picture of what the charges may look like. They infringed the court order restricting the Free Nnamdi Kanu now protesters to certain areas and, of course, restraining them from going to certain areas during their protest. They cited those areas as critical national assets. And of course, Mr. Hundeyin had spoken extensively about that as well the day after the protest on our sister political program. And so Mr. Omoyele Sowore is in police custody now alongside the brother of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and his lawyer, Aloy Ejimako. And so we have a clear understanding of what the charges are. But let's talk to one of his associates and, get to know more about how that transpired in court and the implications of these arrests. Let's welcome human rights activist and lawyer, Mr. Enibehe Effiong, who joins us from our Abuja studio. Mr. Effiong, good morning and thank you for joining us on the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
And, we got wind of the arrests from your post yesterday, telling us that you were present in court. Explain to us how exactly this transpired.
So, Mr. Omoyele Sowore had a case before the Federal High Court yesterday. As you are aware, there are quite a number of criminal charges that have been filed by the Inspector General of Police against Sowore, either for himself, that is IGP Ebetoko, or for some other interests, like Senator Nenwoko and a few others. So yesterday, one of those cases, specifically the one where the IGP claimed that Sowore was wrong by referring to him as illegal IGP, in quotes, came up yesterday and coincided with the continuation of trial in the case of Nnamdi Kanu. Upon the conclusion of the proceedings, Mr. Sowore was exiting the premises of the Federal High Court in Abuja when a retinue of police officers basically waylaid him in front of the Federal High Court in Abuja. Initially, they claimed that, they were not coming to arrest him. The Commissioner of Police FCT had directed them to bring him before him, essentially to take him into custody. And one would have thought that civilized policing demands that they would send an invitation to him. He was not invited, either by phone call, text message, or letter. So they arrested him, took him to the FCT command, where he met a Deputy Commissioner of Police, who claimed that he shouldn't have led protesters to demand for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. After which they took him to a place infamously known as former SARS Abattoir, a place notorious for the killing, slaughter, extortion of Nigerians by the disbanded and now rebranded Special Anti-Robbery Squad. He is currently being detained there. I went to that facility myself. A couple of my colleagues also went there, who are associates of Mr. Sowore. I was denied access to him, despite all the effort that I made, on the basis that I first have to seek clearance from the Commissioner of Police FCT before I could see him. Now, I have listened to the commentaries of Mr. CSP Benjamin Ondeyin, the first public relations officer, where he has said, or where he stated that they arrested Mr. Sowore because according to him, it is only fair that having arrested about 13 others, and those persons in their statement indicated that it was Sowore who led them, that it would be unfair to arrest them for protesting, in his own words, in certain restricted areas without also arresting and prosecuting Mr. Sowore. What bothers me is that I know the gentleman Benjamin Ondeyin from Lagos when he was the police PRO in Lagos. And some of us had cause to work with him, and we felt that he was a fine police officer. But this is Abuja, the capital of iniquity in our country, the capital of corruption in our country, where even people with good intentions are so easily compromised. So I'm not surprised that Ben Ondeyin will make such careless, very utterly irresponsible commentaries, on national television to say that they arrested Sowore simply in the spirit of fairness, not because he has committed any offense. But let us even get to the substance of the matter. What is the allegation against Sowore? They are saying that Sowore participated or led protests in certain public places in Abuja, which according to them, the police had gotten an order of court preventing protests for the release of Nnamdi Kanu from holding in those places. The said places include the villa or anywhere close to the villa, the Eagle Square, Shegu Shagari Way, the Court of Appeal, the National Assembly, and a few other places, and the first headquarters. Now, what is the crime that has been committed? Assuming without considering, because at this time we are not even considering that the protest took place in all those places. I, for example, am not aware, you can correct me, that people went to the villa to protest. I am not aware that Sowore was at the National Assembly to protest. I am also not aware that Sowore went to the Court of Appeal to protest, or any other person who has been arrested in connection with this protest. So, pending when the police is able to tell us where exactly these restricted places are, that people actually defied the order of the court and protested, we will still have to give them the benefit of doubt. But assuming the protest actually took place in those places, has any crime been committed? My answer is no. Because in a worst case scenario, they will be talking about contempt of court. They can say they are in contempt. But I submit to you that as of this morning, I say on my honor that I have not seen any indication that either Sowore or any other protester is in contempt of court. I have read a copy of the order parroted by the police, made, by the, I use the word parroted advisedly, because in the order by the Honorable Justice G.M. Umar of the Federal High Court Abuja, my Lord essentially made about 4 orders. In the first order, the judge restricted protesters from certain places. In the second order, the judge circumscribed the time within which the respondents, defendants are supposed to respond to the suits filed by the police. He had breached the time. That is, he limited the time that they're supposed to respond to 9 a.m. on Monday the 20th. The third order made, interestingly, I want you to take note of this. I have the order here in my cell phone. I can even read it out to you. The third order of the learned judge is very interesting. It says, the order of this court, together with the motion on notice, be served on the respondents today, Friday the 17th of October 2025. The vote is case adjourned to 20th October 2025. This is the order of the court. I am willing to provide this to you for you to see it. What does this mean? What this simply means is that when the learned judge made this order, the judge knew that by law, an order of court is binding on a party or a person if certain preconditions are met. Number one, the person that the order seeks to bind must be a party to that action. Secondly, the order must be served on that person. So the judge was not mistaken when my lord ordered that the order be served on the police. as I am having this interview this morning with you, today, the 24th day of October, neither Sowore nor any other protester was served by the police with this order, either on the 17th of October, Friday, as ordered by the learned judge, or even as at this moment. So technically, they cannot say that Sowore has breached an order that has not been served on him. But assuming that the order was even served.
So Mr. Effiong, the arrest of Mr. Sowore and others is an exercise in illegality by implication of what you have read and explained to us now. Am I correct?
It is not only illegality. It is an act of executive recklessness, because they are saying, and don't forget that the basis upon which this said order was made is the application filed based on the deposition of the police. The police went to court through their counsel. That is, the police submitted itself to the jurisdiction of the court, got an order which they have not fulfilled. If anyone is in contempt of the order of the Federal High Court, it is the Inspector General of Police and the Nigeria Police Board that is in contempt.
All right. Let's assume that this order was served on any of the protesting parties now. Mr. Hundeyi has led us to believe that the other arrested members of the protesting team explained that it was Mr. Sowore that led them to protest in those areas restricted by the court, and that explains why they had to arrest him. Are you suggesting that, by your explanation now, that Mr. Hundeyi was lying? Because you have said that you don't have it, you don't know for sure that they approached or infringed on the court order, that they didn't approach any of these areas, the court, the Supreme Court, the Aso Villa, the police headquarters, National Assembly. So is Mr. Hundeyi lying?
I think I will not say lying. He's still my friend. I will say that he's entirely mistaken. He's misguided. Mr. Benjamin Hundeyi is only speaking to please his bosses. He knows that what he's saying is not the correct position. Now, when those individuals say Sowore led them in a protest, is that a crime in Nigeria to protest or to lead people in protest? And I needed to address a point, because I don't want Nigerians to just trivialize this issue. I have seen the first information reports that the police has filed. Let me show you how embarrassing this whole drama is. Guess what? In the charge that they have filed against the other individuals, which I believe is the same charge they are going to file against Sowore, or the first information report, you know what they are alleging? They are alleging that they have violated Section 152 of the Penal Code. What does Section 152 of the Penal Code provide for? Disobedience of order duly promulgated by public servants. If I could just quickly read what it says to you. Whoever knowing that by an order promulgated by a public servant legally empowered to promulgate such order, he is directed to abstain from certain acts or take certain action with respect to certain property in possession or under his management. This law they claim they have violated is if you flout an order made by a public servant, and you don't only flout it, you knowingly flout it in respect of certain property. This law, the disobedience the police is alleging in court, is in respect of property, whether it is a house or a vehicle or some other chattel. So when they say that they are taking a case to court, this is just a clear abuse of the legal system. The law under which they are claiming these individuals have violated, including Sowore, has no correlation, no connection with what actually took place, which is the protest.
Ms. Anibe,
I don't understand what they are saying. It simply doesn't make any sense to me.
All right, Ms.
Anibe, let's further unpack a few things. I've seen the court order, as you've promised to do so. I see that the Honorable Judge did not stop the protest. What the Honorable Judge did was to restrict, as expected, as maybe the police puts it to them to, as the brief the police sent to maybe the relief sought from the court, said, the respondents are hereby restrained in the interim from protesting in the following areas. They listed Aso Rock Villa, anywhere close to the Villa, the National Assembly, the force headquarters, Court of Appeal, Eagle Square, and Sheikh Shagari Way, pending the hearing of the motion on notice. So, first, I can see here that protest was not stopped by the court, that areas were restricted where protests could occur. On the other hand, of course, it's an ex parte, but let's talk about the law here and what is the premise. So I can also see here that the third order says the order of this court, together with a motion on notice, be served on the respondent today, Friday, October the 17th, which was that day. So now you're saying that, or you're claiming that the order was not served as instructed by the court. What happens in law if an order was to, if this was to be served on the respondent and they were not served? Does it stop them from carrying out their protest?
Excellent question. But let me quickly inform Nigerians. The places that I know verifiable, and you had correspondents who covered this protest, that this protest actually took place, are Utako, Apo Mechanic, Gudu Junction. I think some persons went to Transcorp. But these are the places identifiable that this protest actually took place. I am not aware that the Eagle Square is in Utako, that Court of Appeal is at Utako, that the Unity, the other places listed in the order are either in Utako, Apo Mechanic, or Gudu Junction. Or even those who went to Transcorp. I'm not aware, right, that any of these places. You can look at the order. You have the order before you. Transcorp was not listed. Look at it. You have the order.
So, Anambra, where were they?
I'm saying that.
My apologies. In addition to your response, the people that the police arrested, I'm sure when people are arrested and they are entering their document, it will be stated where they were arrested. Have you been able to see that as well? Because the claim of the police, which you have rightly put and which this order is saying they were restricted, is that these persons went to protest in areas that the court has said, don't go near those places. Do your protest anywhere else, but not here. The police say, we've arrested certain persons who went to these places, and they are all mentioning Sowore that led them. So, for fairness, they had to bring in Sowore. So, did they arrest these persons anywhere apart from these places?
When it comes to the Nigeria police force, and I say this with all sense of responsibility, and filing charges in court, the police lies for a living. I have seen this case after case. I can give you litany of cases, including the ones I have been involved with, where police will make averments in court that are completely false. Perjury has become part of the Nigeria police. So if they are going to file a charge on a false information report to say, I mean, it doesn't even make sense. You covered the protest. China TV covered the protest. Did you see Sowore at the villa? Did you see Sowore at the Court of Appeal? Did you see Sowore at the Eagle Square? But assuming that they even protested at those places, which is a question you asked previously, can they be prosecuted? The answer is no, because the procedure in law for punishing contempt is clear. And this contempt they are alleging arises from a civil action filed by the same police. If a party disobeys an order of court, the only authority, the only institution that has jurisdiction to inquire into the allegation of that disobedience is the court that makes that order. How do you do that? You simply file a motion before the court to commit that person to prison. So what the police has done, assuming without considering that the protest actually took place in those places, is resorting to serve help. The judge who made this order has not been informed that his own order has been violated. The police has not taken the steps required by law for the enforcement of that order. So for you to file a charge based on section 152 of the Penal Code that is in respect of property, if a property is in your possession or in the possession of another person, and the court says don't enter that property or hand over that property and disobey, and you disobey that order, then you can be prosecuted. To bring a charge under a section of the law that has no connection with what we are dealing with, it is a sign of executive recklessness. I would have said illiteracy. The police has a retinue of lawyers. I mean, look at the number of lawyers from the police that were just called to the bar. The IGP received them. Is this not an embarrassment to those colleagues of mine? Looking at, listening, watching how the police, the institution that they are part of is embarrassing our country, is jeopardizing the legal system, and making mockery of everything. So, number one, I want to place on record, I am not aware that the order was violated, and I have challenged you, show me evidence that this order was actually violated. Number two, we cannot even speak about violation, because the condition precedent to the applicability and the enforcement of that order, which the court acknowledged in number 3, which you have read, is that that order must be served on the respondents on the 17th of October. They did not serve that order. That order was not effective. That order cannot be said to have been violated. And assuming they even served, I have shown you, I have explained to you, that the correct approach in law is to go back to the judge that made the order.
All right. Mr. Effiong, as we wind down now, the President's Senior Special Assistant on Media, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, has been speaking on the participation of Mr. Aloy Ejimakor in the protests. I'm quoting from his verified Twitter handle now, X handle. He said, as a lawyer, you should be aware of the principle of sub judice, particularly in relation to the ongoing treason case before the court. The prosecution has concluded its case, and it's now incumbent on Mr. Ejimakor and the other lawyers to mount a strong defense for Kanu. He said, rather than focus on preparing a strong case, Mr. Ejimakor has resorted to extra legal tactics, joining a career anarchist to influence the process. Was it wrong for Mr. Ejimakor to participate in the protest?
What was he protesting? That is the first question. You know, in this country, we sometimes listen to some of these public officers, and we cannot be amused. When Mr. Onanuga made that comment, did he tell you what Mr. Ejimakor was protesting against? Was he protesting against the judge? The answer is no. Was he protesting against the witnesses listed that testified against Kanu? The answer is no. Was he even protesting, right, against the trial of Kanu? Can you show me one video where Mr. Ejimakor made a comment prejudicial to the trial? There is no provision. And I want a lawyer in Nigeria to come and contradict me. Because I listened to some of my colleagues, including some senior advocates of Nigeria, quite sadly, come on television to mislead Nigerians. I am putting it on record this morning that there is no law, there is no provision of the Rules of Professional Conduct for Legal Practitioners 2025 that prohibits a lawyer that is involved in litigation from commenting on that litigation, from commenting on that suit. What our rules of conduct, rules of ethics, prevents is making comments prejudicial to the case. That is comment that tends to preempt the outcome or that tends to basically take over the conduct of the case. So assuming that Mr. Aloy Ejimakor had, during the protest, granted an interview and said, for example, oh, this judge that is trying Nnamdi Kanu, I can put it to you, is biased. This judge has been compromised. The witnesses, we are going to deal with them. The witnesses are not credible. The exhibit that was tendered was fabricated. If he had made those comments along those lines, one can maybe suggest that he had made comments prejudicial to the trial. That is why when you see public, serious cases take place, right, cases of public interest after the hearing, you will see the media. You have judicial correspondence. Go to the Federal High Court this morning after you are done interviewing me. Go and you see lawyers that have concluded cases of public interest. They address the media. It is not strange. It is not a violation of the law. It is what you say that matters. But let us even take the conversation further. Are you saying that because the legal practitioner is right to freedom of expression under Section 39 is extinguished? Are you saying that he has no right to express himself, to articulate his position as a Nigerian because he's a counsel on record to Nnamdi Kanu? I think what we are seeing is a further shrinking of the civic space. Let me maybe, I don't know how much time I have, but let me, in rounding up, make this point. Recently, the media has been awash, right, by this quite sad news, unfortunate news, that some soldiers have been arrested for allegedly planning to stage a coup. I believe you have seen those reports. The question is, we don't want a coup in Nigeria. The point is that we don't want any coup in Nigeria. I'm totally against it. But can you say today that the Tinubu regime, the Tinubu government, has not waged a coup against the constitution of our country? That can you tell me this morning that there is no coup against the democracy in this country? Because the moment you begin to say people cannot protest in the villa, people cannot protest in the Evil Square, people cannot protest Sheku Shagari Way, do you want Nigerians in Abuja to go to Sambisa Forest to protest? Do you want people to go to the forest to protest?
All right.
This is a clear indication that this government has no respect for the rule of law. Look at the No Kings protests in U.S. Millions of Americans took over a lot of places in the U.S. Go to the White House today, you can find Americans protesting. Go to number 10 in London, you can find people in UK protesting in front of the Prime Minister's residence. What is sacred about the villa that Nigerians cannot protest? What is sacred about the National Assembly? If I cannot go to the National Assembly to protest, where am I supposed to protest? This Tinubu presidency, here is a president who took part in protests. Here are people in power, the APC, that came to power based on protests. Today, they are criminalizing protests, they are stigmatizing those who are holding placards, while the same government is romancing bandits that is using AK-47 to kill Nigerians, giving amnesty to criminals while attacking people that are holding a placard. This is not how to build a democracy. You cannot say you want a democracy, you don't want a coup, and at the same time, you are attacking the legitimate right of Nigerians to protest. Let the government be serious. Let us stop this weaponization of the legal system, trivialization of the rule of law, making a mockery of the judicial system. Enough is enough. Nigerians must be respected. The rest of Nigerians to express themselves is sacrosanct. And we are not going to relinquish on those rights.
Indeed, Mr. Effiong, critical issues that you have raised that should form the guardrails of our democracy. And this is where we aptly anchor this segment. And thank you very much for coming on the program. Mr. Enibe Effiong is a human rights activist and a lawyer. Thank you for coming through on this segment.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And we'll take a moment now. When we return, we'll switch gears to Anambra politics. And it's critical time ahead of the November 8 governorship election. Stay with us for this next one. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Let's talk about the Anambra governorship election. It's just about, let's say, 2 weeks away from now, November the 8th. One of the candidates vying for the seats of the governor in Anambra State of the Labour Party joins us now from Abuja Studio, Mr. George Moghalu. Mr. Moghalu, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for having me.
I think I would just like to start on a very generic note. 2 weeks down the line, how ready are you?
To answer simply, very ready.
How ready is ready?
I'm ready in the sense that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, expecting the date because it's already fixed, so that I can wait for a number of people to take a decision.
You know, in Nigerian politics, I use that word cautiously, Nigerian politics, so that there's a uniqueness attached to that. There are two things that people look at to say someone has a chance at the polls. First, they look at how popular the individual is, or the political party, or the individual in this sense. The next thing they look at is how much war chest you have to be able to do all that is needed in terms of mobilization and putting all the structures in place. Now, when you look at the war chest that ABGA, which has been in government from inception till today, and the incumbent is of ABGA, and then you have the APC, the ruling party at the national level, who also have that strong support for their candidates in the election on November the 8th. How do you assess yourself in terms of being prepared to be able to face this based on popularity and war chest?
We are a very popular party. I'm a very popular person in Anambra State. We are doing what we are supposed to do. We are campaigning, reaching out, selling ourselves and our programs to the Anambra. As to war chest is not my forte, but what I can assure you comfortably is that we are ready for the elections. Whatever we're expected to do, we are going to do. But as to whether it's a war chest, our concern is to be in the minds of the people of Anambra State. And they are going to decide our fate, every one of us, because they are going to do the voting on November 8th and choose the governor of their choice. So for me, we are prepared, we are ready, we'll continue doing what we are supposed to do. We sustain our campaigns until the 6th, 12 midnight, when we're supposed to stop. And then we wait for the verdict. of Anambra?
Let's stay with the politics. The reason I'm asking this question, let's walk through just a bit of data and trend that has happened. So the big momentum of the Labour Party happened in 2023 presidential or general election, where your Peter Obi came third, and we saw quite an upset that shocked even the political class. We had senators, House of Reps members of the House of Assembly, although some of them have now started defecting. That's on one hand in terms of the trend I'm talking about because of the crisis in your party. And when the election happened, I think in Edo State, you saw the gap between the APC and the PDP and the Labour Party. They literally beat in silly. The numbers were worlds apart. It even got worse when it was the Ondo election, because I remember the battle that ensued between the two candidates. In fact, the person who was finally on the ballot was eventually on the ballot literally 48 hours before the election. And look at the number of the winner of that election. He scored less than 5 or 10,000 votes. Now, I gave all this background in terms of data to say, are you worried that this could be a fate you may suffer because of what's playing out in your party despite your honest effort?
No, not at all. Not at all. You see, every election has its own peculiarities. And every candidate also has its own level of acceptability, especially within the areas of your operation. So for me, whatever happened in Edo, you must also look at the factors. You must look at it. If you're looking at, don't look at only the result. Look at what must have led to the result. Look at the indices. Same thing applies to Ondo. Like you rightly observed, there may be internal disagreement at their state level and what have you, but it's entirely different in Anambra State. Here is a state where I'm very well accepted. Here is a state where Labour Party is very well accepted. Here is a state the national leader of Labour Party comes from. So the point is that our support is grassrooted. The support of Labour Party is how do I put it now? Is general, in the sense, it's generic, in the sense that everybody wants to be part of Labour Party, especially with regards to what we are presenting to them as what we are going to do if it pleases God that we form government. And then they also look at my person, look at my credibility, look at my character, look at my trajectory, look at my history, both in and out of government, and then look at that of our national leader, and then be able to make up their minds as to what they want. But as far as the statistics you read out, though they may be correct, but the circumstances differ.
About everyone wanting to be part of the Labour Party, that may be debatable in the light of the current circumstances when you consider the leadership tussle currently bedeviling the party. But that's another matter that perhaps if we have time, we will thrash sufficiently. But let's look at you being in the minds of the people, the Labour Party being in the minds of Anambrarians ahead of the elections. If the result of that, can be measured by the by-elections that were conducted in August, where the APGA, the ruling party, trounced the opposition by a very wide margin. It was 90,000 to 19,000 between APGA and the APC. And of course, the Onitsha Federal Constituency, State Assembly election rather, too, was won by the ruling party, APGA, in that state. So where is the Labour Party in this scheme of things? Because it appears as if APGA is really holding on tightly to the entire Anambra. The governor has been quoted as saying, Anambra is APGA and APGA is Anambra.
Well, what you must understand, starting from your last point, the governor is free to make the assertion. You don't blame him. APGA has been in government for the past 16, 20 years in Anambra State. So his position with regards that APGA is Anambra, Anambra is APGA, is something he's free to say because talk is cheap. But let me also let you know, because I don't know whether you know, that Labour Party did not participate in the senatorial election, the senatorial by-election. Labour Party did not participate. So you cannot quantify our at Labour Party.
It appears as if we're having You may have to, rewind some of your comments, and because we lost your audio for a bit. You were saying Labour Party did not participate in the election. That's the point we heard you up to.
Yes, no, that's the point I made. Initially, I said that the governor may be free to say that Labour APGA is Anambra, Anambra is APGA. He may be basing that assertion on the fact that APGA had been in government for over 20 years, close to that. So, but that may not be the case with this. The election in Anambra State will put a lot of things right, because they are going to be dealing with the individuals, one, their party platforms, two, their trajectory. Okay, so for me, election of Anambra State will be entirely different. I try to remind you or let you know that the by-elections you made reference to, that Labour did not participate. Therefore, that may not be a fair basis to assess our acceptability in the minds of Anambra. But election of November 8 will be entirely a different ball game, because the indices are different, the factors are different, the people that are involved are different, and the electoral process, we believe, our prayer, which I've consistently made, is let INEC give us a free, fair, credible electoral process, so that the result that will come out of that election will be such that it will be acceptable to everybody as having passed the basic test of credibility.
Let's look at what, maybe the reality right now, which is the groundswell of support that the governor and candidate of APGA is currently enjoying. His program seems to resonate with the people, and they have demonstrated their support for him by donating in abundant measure, really, to his campaign. Are you intimidated by this record?
Do you actually look at the scenario where you give somebody money in the night to donate to you in the morning? When you look at that scenario also, and the possibility that you can give money to somebody in the night and ask them to donate in the morning,
do you have
give a picture?
Do you have evidence to prove what you're suggesting?
No, I didn't say. I said, do you know there's a possibility, okay, that somebody can give you money in the night and then ask you to donate it in the morning, okay? So when that happens, don't lose sight of that fact. Please don't be deceived by theatrics. Don't be deceived by theatrics.
You just said it's a fact. Ground. You just said it's a fact. So
no.
What evidence do you have to support this fact that you are putting forward?
The evidence I have is that you have to come to Anambra State and conduct an opinion poll.
That's not an evidence, sir.
No, please come. No, please come. If you want a rally to bring the whole Anambra together, you can do it. Especially in a situation where government has successfully weaponized poverty, where they now buy votes, where people are now cajoled or intimidated into pretending to accept such possibilities. Such scenarios are all over the place. We also have such scenarios based on people's acceptability of our programs. So it has been happening. I will also send videos of our outings. But the point is that we may not have played it on your channel. So you are right to make the assumptions you are making.
Well, they are not assumptions. They are things that we see, and we appreciate your own feedback on these issues as well. We just require balance. But let's speak to what your own programs and policies would be for Anambra should you win this election. Yeah. What do you plan to do differently?
There's quite a lot we plan to do differently, and we have presented a kind of 12-point program to the Anambra. We looked at the issue of insecurity, which is a very major concern today in our state. We looked at the collapse in education. We looked at the collapse in the health sector. The basic infrastructure that is supposed to be put in place, what we are seeing is not what we expect. We have also looked at power, youth employment and empowerment. We have also looked at women engagement and empowerment. So these are some of the policies we have presented in our manifesto, which we consider a contract between us and the Anambra. So we have a different way of doing all these things. If you look at insecurity, which we know has affected our state so drastically, Because in an insecure environment, it affects the economy, it affects the way of life, it affects every aspect of our living, and is of great concern to us. And we have said that the government has not done well when we are talking about addressing the issue of insecurity. And then we have an alternative way, which we think that if you do follow our route, or if you follow the roadmap we have drawn, that you are going to resolve the issue of insecurity permanently. We've talked about establishing a command and control system, which currently we don't have in the state. We have talked about using drones to monitor our forests and all our borders. That we don't have. We are talking of bringing in technology into the management of security in our state. That we do not have. Today, we have vigilantes in all the 182 communities of Anambra. We used to be 177, but now with the creation of some new communities, we're about 182 thereabout. Okay, we have vigilantes. And the thing about vigilantes is that every community has their vigilante. And the people that are operating or operational, the people that are working under these vigilante services are also members of their immediate community. And then we said, we can develop this vigilante by way of properly documenting them, properly training them, properly kitting them, properly equipping them, and then remunerate them appropriately. Because you see, we see a situation where somebody is given a gun to carry. Here is an untrained person. Here is somebody who is not properly paid. What you have successfully done is to create another brand of armed robber. Because you have armed somebody. Today, the security outfit they have created have now started involving themselves in toll collecting at different checkpoints in Anambra. We have information, you also, I'm sure you have record of the intimidation that people will go through. The issue of the youth copper who was brutalized in Anambra State is fresh in mind. We have issues where they have killed persons because they are not properly trained. So we are saying, get these people properly documented. Let people guarantee them within their immediate community where they are operating. Train them well. One good thing about Anambra State is that there is no community that doesn't have an avalanche of retired police, army, civil defense, or DSS personnel. Get these people engaged, involve them in the training process. Get these young men and women properly trained. By the time you train them properly, you kit them. What we have today are people wearing ragtag, covering their faces, and then intercepting people on the roads. We need a security outfit. If we want to convert the vigilantes to a proper security outfit, we do it in such a manner that they can be professional. Get them documented, train them, equip them, kit them properly, and they will look responsible. And then pay them, develop a salary structure so that even young graduates will be willing to join.
Mr. Mamali, if I may come in for a moment, my apologies. I think your points are well noted when it comes to your intervention in terms of security. If you are elected governor of Anambra State, let's move further to the economy, which is the bane of it as well. I would like to know your economic blueprint, if you will. And why I say that is because the Southeast, for instance, very industrial set of people, very entrepreneurial set of people. Nnewi, for instance, is supposed to be like the little China in some sense, or in Nigeria. I don't know whether that potential has been fully utilized as much as possible. In fact, Nnewi should be significant net exporter of all the things that happen in Nnewi. What's your plan for Nnewi and industrialization of Anambra in just 2 minutes as a wind down? Oh dear. Mr. Momalo, if you can hear me, I guess network is not quite a friend at this moment. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I'm hearing you very well.
Did you get my question?
Yes, I did.
Okay, please, you have just about a minute. Yes, just because we lost the connection.
Okay, no, I said that what we need to do is to create the enabling environment for the private sector to drive the process of our economic rebirth. And we have to address the issue of power. Because if we don't address the issue of power, the issue of local industrialization will be a mirage. So we need to address that issue. Anambra State is a prime producer of gas. Why can't we use it to generate electricity and be able to provide that basic need? Because the moment we do it, it's going to revolutionize the industrial sector. Then again, we must have a way to look at how do we encourage industrialists to build and expand their industries. We look at creating tax waivers, tax opportunities, and then we look at how to help them in accessing capital. Because we must address the issue of capital today. If we don't address the issue of capital, we cannot compete. So we need to create the enabling environment for the private sector to grow. Even if the issue of unemployment, when the private sector has grown and then you have investments in the private sector, you create opportunities for employment of our young graduates who are just coming out of the universities.
All right.
Then we now provide capital for the SMEs. And then with the moment you do these things, the economy will grow. But most importantly, let me rewind again, that you must address the issue of insecurity satisfactorily, because nobody will invest in an insecure environment.
Mr. Mawa, look, 2 weeks, we still have about 2 weeks for these engagements to continue. I don't know whether there's going to be, what do you call it now, debates for the candidates. So we'll be hearing everybody out. And at the end of the day, it's not me. I'm just a reporter, and my colleagues to be on ground to do whatever it is for those that will be on ground. But then the Anambra will be the ones to decide what exactly they want and who they want to elect. But we wish you the very best. Mr. George Magali is the governorship candidate of the Labour Party in the coming election in Anambra State. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey, for having me. My pleasure as always.
Absolutely. All right, we'll take a quick break. It's Friday. Come on. So we'll take this break and come back. We'll go to the lighter side of things. We'll be talking to creatives across board, world record holders and creative sector, people in the creative sector. That will be in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. We will be talking to creatives, and this time we're talking to storytellers. There's been an event in a part of the North. It's the African International Documentary Festival, organized by the African International Documentary Festival Foundation, put together to preserve the heritage of Africa and promoting our cultural heritage. That's what we have. And these storytellers came together to converge on that particular location to put out their own narrative in terms of preserving our culture as Africans. We're being joined in the program by the Director of Special Initiatives, African International Documentary Festival Foundation, Abba Gadzama, joins us virtually. Mr. Gadzama, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. It's good to be on the program, Jeffrey.
All right, fantastic.
And,
yeah, because you will see Bukola in just a moment. So let's talk about the maybe you give us an overview of this event. When we heard about the events, okay, this is a good direction in terms of anything that has to do with preservation of heritage is important to all of us, because as Africa, heritage is everything. We are losing the essence of it. So if we have people archiving, curating, and documenting, putting out narrative, which is a form of soft power, is a welcome one. But walk us through this, why this is important to the continent.
Well, thank you very much, Jeffrey. If I may start, I would like to borrow a quote from the late Marcus Garvey that said, a people without a knowledge of their history is like a tree without root. So AFIDEV, that's the acronym for my organization, has been at the forefront of telling the African stories as they are, away from the narratives that come from the Western world, using our own voices, our own means and ways to tell our own story as it should be told. Now, the World Heritage Volunteer Initiatives was launched in 2008 by UNESCO Heritage Center in collaboration with the coordinating committee, CCIVS, for the volunteer services of UNESCO. Now, what we aim to do is to
oh dear, what of the network, Bukola? Okay, We hope we can catch him, just a short conversation, but the whole idea, Mr. Gadzama, I want to be sure whether or not you can hear me. Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you.
All right, network connection. We had an issue for a moment. Please go ahead and land on your thoughts.
Yes, like I was saying, it is to encourage the young people to play active roles in the protection, preserving, and the promotion of these cultural heritage sites that we have. As you know, in Nigeria, we have the Sukur Cultural Heritage Site, we have the Ocean Oshogbo, and there are quite a lot that have been on the tentative list of UNESCO. So what we as an organization are trying to do is to get those that have been on the tentative list so that we can bring up a nomination dossier that we can present to UNESCO so that they can be inscribed into the World Heritage Sites. And this is what actually brought us here to Kano. The Kano City Wall and 8 other associated sites have been on the tentative list of UNESCO for well over 20 years, but they have not been inscribed as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So what we have done as an organization, as we have done in other programs that we have attended, like in Sukur, Adamawa State, a mountainous region of, I think we had to climb about almost 2,000 feet to get to the top of the mountain to create awareness for this program. And just last year, we were also in Jalingo.
What's about
being on the tentative list?
Okay, your network.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we hope that the network improves such that we can have a seamless conversation. It's interesting what the organization is doing, and we saw many youths, hundreds of them, in the high points of the festival, the ongoing Africa Film and Documentary Festival. But we want to know, because there are an abundance of stories attached to these heritage sites, we want to know what opportunities the festival, is making available to these creatives to tell the story, the true African story, and perhaps if there are opportunities also for cultural exchange programs, because it's about Africa, so it's beyond the heritage of the Nigerian aspect or story of Africa itself. So what are the opportunities that are available to empower these creatives to tell the African story?
Thank you. Well, Bukola, it would interest you to know that we have international volunteers too that came. We have local volunteers nationwide. And the beautiful thing about it is that we are trying to make a better Nigeria. I'll tell you why. Most of the volunteers that came, or that usually come for our programs, are people that have not been to these regions before. And they come to these regions with a particular mindset about how the people are, in terms of how they live, whether they're still primitive, about security, about this, about that. But by the time they come and experience the hospitality of these hosts, where they're living, it's a different narrative that they have. So they don't go out and tell these stories and say, no, what we used to hear about this place is actually not like this. This is what it is. And the good thing about it is that they don't just go there and tell it by word of mouth. They have documented evidence by way of videos, interviews, pictures, what have you. And that is what AFIDEM is trying to do, to also contribute our own small quota to making or uniting us as a nation.
This initiative will continue to show support to anything that promotes our culture, preserves our heritage as much as possible. So training maybe young documentary filmmakers and journalists is a step in the right direction. Director, Special Initiatives, African International Documentary Festival Foundation, Mr. Abba Gadzama, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking to Guinness World Record holder. In what? Find out in just a moment. We'll be right back. All right, Shea Anifowoshe joins us. He's a world record holder, Guinness World Record holder. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning.
I deliberately did not tell them what record you're holding because I want you to do the talking yourself. So, but when we have record holders, we had George Essende at that time. Now we have you, so it's a familiar territory. You're going to hold your record. So let me read what is there and then. This is Guinness World Records for certificate. This certificate is for the largest gathering of teachers is 5,082 and was achieved by Oluwaseyi Anifowoshe, Let There Be Teachers and 1 million teachers, all Nigeria in Lagos, Nigeria on 20th of September 2025. Tell us about this.
Okay, so...
We just wanted to put this on record. Our own record.
So I'm a teacher, and I've been a teacher for many years.
How long have you been?
Over 15 years. And I feel that there is a lot more that can be done about the teaching profession, right? The national policy on education says that no nation rises above the quality of its teachers. And personally, we feel that there is a lot more that needs to be done about the teaching profession. And so the Let There Be Teachers Conference was a global platform that we created to begin to speak to the issues around the teaching profession, to begin to amplify the voices of teachers. So we gathered thousands of teachers at Tafawa Balewa Square on the 20th. And I mean, this record says 5,000, but indeed we had over 15,000 teachers in attendance from across Nigeria. But of course, you know, this 5,000 was verified based on teachers who can actually prove that they are teachers. So these people came with their certificate, TRCN certificate, employment letter. So those were the people that Guinness actually verified. So here we are, the largest gathering of teachers in the world.
And so some would ask, what difference did it make, you know, to gather teachers, the largest gathering, when the issues still remain, poor remuneration, lack of training for teachers? So what difference has this made to the teaching profession?
All right, so as I said, number one, that conference was a platform. So we wanted to create a platform that can begin to help us amplify the voices of the teacher. So, and that was achieved. So number two, the conference was a journey, not a destination. So we've done the conference. What comes after? And that's what people have been asking. And so this is what comes after. So we produced a communique. All right, I've been to the National Assembly after the conference, and I'm going back to the National Assembly. When I went to Abuja, I was unable to meet the minister. Of course, so we're making an arrangement for me to meet with the minister and then the chairman committee on basic education. So this communique has been given to the TRCN registrar who was in attendance. She came to represent the minister. So our next steps is this communique that we're going to be using to engage the National Assembly for policy reform. And there are certain things that we're asking for. Because, and that's what you talked about, all right, we're saying that the curriculum must be changed. We need teachers to be involved when you are designing curriculum. The curriculum is just a document. Teachers are those who understand what should be in the curriculum. And so when you want to design the curriculum or when you want to redesign the curriculum, teachers must be there. And then we're asking for increased education budget allocation. All right, and then we're asking for elevated entry standards for education programs. For instance, when students write JAM, when they write JAM and then they pay the cutoff, say for you to go to the university, you must have at least 200.
And then for you to go to the Polytechnic, you must have at least 150. But for you to go to the College of Education, you have 100. We want that order to change, because our colleges of education are not a dumping ground. Even when you want to go to the university, if you want a course and you didn't get that course, they take you to the Faculty of Education. So what it means is that our faculties of education, colleges of education have become dumping grounds. And we are saying no. So we want the entry standards to increase. So we are going to be engaging JAMB and other stakeholders. And then we're asking for public holiday for teachers on the World Teachers Day. So we have about 5 things that we have on this communique that we're going to be using to engage the National Assembly, possibly before the end of the year. We're going to have a major stakeholder engagement in Abuja, and we're calling all of these people into a room to engage for the change that we really need.
I will only say we wish you well in all of this, but I was just looking at the budgets of the federal government in 2025 budget. I know that defense took a chunk, almost 5 trillion. I know that infrastructure came next, and then education was about 3.5 trillion. So there has been some level of, it's not there yet, but some level of increase as far as the budget allocation is concerned. But let's talk about welfare. Welfare is critical. In fact, it is because of welfare that we now have people that are hustling through that path. As you mentioned, people just choose teaching because it's just a way, a means to an end.
It means, absolutely.
What do you think an average teacher, let's start with primary school, should be earning in today's Nigeria? And then we can talk secondary. And so we'll fight the battle of the senior boys.
Well, so the welfare of teachers is actually at the top of what we're advocating. So we're going to serious advocacy for teachers, right? And we're asking that the welfare of teachers must be top priority to this government. And you mentioned that the budget allocation has increased. Yes, but it's not up to the 20% benchmark by UNESCO. So it is still way behind, and we're asking for more. So we want the welfare of teachers to be top priority. For instance, I can say that Lagos State is trying when it comes to the salary of teachers, but if you go to private schools, what many teachers are earning is really, really terrible, right? In 2025, we still have teachers earning 50,000, earning 70,000. What does a teacher do with 100,000 in 2025 in Nigeria with the way things are increasing every day? And so a teacher should not be earning anything less than 500,000 in Nigeria today.
Should teachers be paying tax?
I mean, everybody should pay tax, right? But of course, that's the policy of the country. Everybody that works in this country must pay tax. So it's not about paying tax, but how do you pay tax from something that's not even enough for you in the first place?
And when you say Lagos State is trying, what does trying look like?
I mean, I would say that Lagos State is a state that is actually taking care of the welfare of their teachers. They are celebrating teachers. You know, if you go to Lagos, if you go to SUBEB and Ministry of Education, they have programs to ensure that teachers' welfare are being taken care of. But of course, there is always there's a need for more, right? We need teachers to really, really be at par. In fact, we don't want teachers to be at par with other professions in Nigeria. Teachers should be above all other professions. You know, the teaching profession is the only profession that produces all other professions. So when it comes to the level of where teachers should be, they should be above every other profession.
All right. As we wind up very quickly, in 60 seconds, tell us how the Guinness World Record has transformed your career.
Well, it has given us access, right? Which is what we need. We want to be able to get access to engage. On Monday this week, I was on a courtesy visit to the governor of my state, from Ekiti State. And then that visit gave birth to a platform where he wants me to engage with the Ministry of Education to see how we can do to transform. So that's basically what this has done, giving us access to be able to engage.
Oluwase Anifowoshe, raise that thing again. It's your record. Nobody can take it away from you.
Yeah.
Largest gathering of teachers, 5,082. Thank you for coming on.
And I need to thank Channels TV. Channels TV was our official media partner for this conference.
We're always here to support you whenever and wherever.
Thank you.
That's why we're ubiquitous.
Absolutely.
All right, that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time. We wish you a very beautiful weekend. Bukola is very happy, I can tell you that.
Oh, Jeffrey. Why did you have to rub it in again? Thank you for being there. Of course, Channels Television has got you covered all through the day. Sunrise Daily is up next. I am Bukola Kulka. Bye for now.